All right, let's start the program now. And Sue is the one who insisted that I speak, so it's everything I say is her fault. I want to let you know that I'm 89 right now. In November, I will be 90. We're not to clap, because I have 3 things I have to do before I'm 90. So I'm coming in to ask you for help and ideas, because none of the 3 have I completed. I'm halfway, less than halfway, but I'm going to focus on these. I believe that we will continue to make the same mistakes if we don't pay attention to history. And I look at developing the ability to log in this history as important and how it can help other women. That's kind of what I'm thinking toward. But I need your help, so afterwards, if anybody can give me some ideas. It's important to document information for a useful retrieval. How do you get it back, and how do you know where to get it? I've heard all kinds of things I never even knew about before I came here this morning. How do we make it available, and how can you look it up in a dictionary of retrievals kind of thing? We've had success with Smith College, Duke, and the Schlesinger Library. But there are all kinds of other things, and I'll tell you at the end a story that my son showed me on his trip to visit. But I'm looking for 3 opportunities. The first, I have the documents from the Federal Women's Program. It was begun at the Civil Service Commission in 1967. I was the first program director for the Federal Women's Program at the Civil Service Commission. I was there from 67 to 69. Now, this is the first book of data in the government that lists women. It's the only copy I know of. There isn't anything in the Library of Congress. It's 1968. It has 1966 data in it. Then here's 1969. I put these out. I was new, and I got the help from Evelyn Harrison, who was on the commission. Now, the 1969 book, and I don't think the new ones have all the data from the White House on women, and I just had to let you know how important this is. This was the first one I did. This I did also, but it's 66 data. And I put this out in 68 because I got there in 67. This is 69. And in 69, GS-17s at the White House got 200% improvement from 66 to 69. It went from 1 to 3 women. GS-16s didn't inch because there weren't any GS-16s. GS-14s, out of 18 positions, there was 1. I don't think they put out White House data anymore on the White House, but these were the first 2 books. Where do they go? Do they go to the archives, to the National Archives? Do they go to another kind of federal museum or someone that takes federal museum? Because I have all the material from the Federal Women's Program and that I'm sure doesn't exist anywhere else. And I'd like to know the best place, and I'm going to start calling around. So if you have some ideas, I would love to have them. So that's one job that I have to get done by November. The second job is I was fortunate to be married to Julius W. Hobson, who, in this every Black History Month where I live in a retirement community, I always give a little song and dance about Julius because he was fun, interesting, and a very effective community activist. All right, I need to get somebody to write a biography. about Julius? Who will write it? We're collecting information, but we have a lot of information. There's just 20 years Julius was active in the community. In fact, I brought some handouts about Julius, which may give you some ideas. And this is a picture of him.
I remember him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a lot of people do, because he died in 1977, but it's amazing how many people remember him because he was funny. And for instance, I know you all are aware of the issue when the rats came to Anacostia.
Yes.
I'll tell that one story quickly. The rats were a very bad problem, still are, as a matter of fact, all over the town, but they were in Anacostia and they were biting kids in cribs. So it was brought to the attention of the three people who managed our government that they needed money to get rid of the rats. So in any event, Julius, they were turned down. So Julius got a car with a cage on top, put a rat in it, and took it over to Georgetown. And he said, if you're not going to kill the rats, we'll equalize them. He was a very non-violent person. That took care of it. The money was given. We still have rats that are worse than it was then. But that's the kind of story that makes for a good biography for Julius. The only reason I'm handing that out is I had a few left from Black History Month, and it's the best picture I've ever taken. So make sure to look at the picture of me. And so anyway, I want to do a history, and we've gotten together several of his old friends, and I have this book, Ellicare. It's about nursing. And the man who wrote this is a relative of one of the people I've talked with. And he said, why don't we just pull the information together first? Because there are a lot of things that have been written about Julius, and then get a biography. But pull together everything, because some of it is not error-free. So I think that's what we'll be doing. But if you have any ideas about writing a biography, we have 2 or 3 people we're looking at that are interested, because it's interesting. But if you have anything to add, please let me know. His papers are at the Martin Luther King Library right now, except for the boxes that I happen to have and I want to get rid of. So now the third thing is, because of Sue, I will tell you one story. Sue thinks that I ought to write something about myself. I'm not terribly keen about that, except there is one thing that I don't think anybody else has had the experience of. And that's when I was married to Julius, and we were married in 1969. It was an extremely interesting part of my life, we'll put it that way. But we got into a legal problem with the FBI because we went to every Vietnam opposition to the war in the Vietnam we could. He didn't care if it was the white supremacists who were giving the thing against the Vietnam War. He would go everywhere. So one of the problems is that during that period, in 1969, I announced my engagement to Julius. That's why I was moved from the Federal Women's Program, because of course he was contesting racial discrimination and I was contesting discrimination against women, and the Civil Service Commission didn't think that was appropriate, so I moved into another job at that time. When I didn't know this at the time, but when I said that I was engaged to Julius, the FBI started tracking me. I didn't know it, and they did so until we were married. Now, they tapped my telephone for a couple of years, year and a half, and did follow me apparently around. And I think the major problem, and Amy, I wanted to point this out to you, was they felt, even though I had graduated from Stanford University, that I must be a kook because I was going to marry Julius. They felt I had to not know what I was doing, and we were in a conspiracy to do something different, which was apparent. But can you imagine at this day and age that we won? It took 12 years. ACLU was the one, and there were about 5. We filed a case, ACLU filed a case against 5 FBI agents because they couldn't file a case against the FBI, but they could against the agents. So 12 years later, Julius had died. I got $10,000, and listen, from the FBI. We won the case. We got $200,000 each of us. There were about 7 of us, and that were part of this suit. And I got it for humiliation, embarrassment, personal inquiries, and intrusion into my appointment from the FBI with an apology for all of this because of monitoring my telephone. I gave the money to my kids and to Julius's kids. They each got a little bit of money from the FBI. I don't think there's anybody else in the United States whose kids have gotten money from a legal case against the FBI. That's about the only thing, Sue, I can think of that's worth writing about.
No, there's much more.
Your whole leadership of the Federal Women's
We need
Program?
to bring it a little closer so we hear all the speakers.
Yes, I'm sorry. I think Wikipedia is a good thing. I think there are lots of others, and my son, who just hiked to Argentina, Chile, and Patagonia, read The Invention of Nature, Alexander von Humboldt's New World. Now remember, he did the same hikes in 1799. So this was a good way of learning about it, and it was. But Conrad said, "Mom, you can just go on Google." And so we went on Google to see if there was information about me. We found information about me, but then it goes on, if you, if you want to know if she got arrested or whatever, you know, that it would be, that you could, in other words, that there, a lot of employers get on that to see about you if they're going to get a job, and they'll, for $100, they'll say how many traffic tickets you got. I didn't know any of this. So anyway, that's my presentation and my 3 things I have to do before I'm 90. So, and I would like us to begin to develop a list of where you can go for information, because it's fine to have it, but if you don't retrieve it, it's not worth much.
Thank you.
Okay, now wait, I have to introduce the next speaker.
Go do it.
Okay.
Keep it quick.
I want to introduce Elsa Little, who has 45 years of working for nonprofit sectors in Washington, D.C. She was Vice President of Finance at the Council for Basic Education and a large multicultural early childhood education center at Mount Pleasant. She's worked with the United Planning Organization, managing all of the district's finances for its Head Start programs. She's been an independent consultant and worked with Cleveland, Woodley Park Village, the House of Mercy, and Family Crisis Center of Baltimore County. Now, the reason why I invited Elsa to come and speak is because she has accomplished something. I still am working on figuring out what to do. Without her help, I can't do it. So she's going to be helping me do this, and we've been friends for a long time, and I appreciate it so much that I thought I'd let you know what she has accomplished, to know that I won't give up as long as she's helping me.
Thank you. Lovely. Come in.